guys, how we doing? Did you guys get a group rate on some tight black t-shirts?
Yes, I literally just said that to Bill. I said, we have the black t-shirt thing going on. There's zero chance that David or Craig will bring it up, I'm sure.
Yeah. I was hoping Bill could get a little deeper V though, because our audience, skin to win for us.
Mine was cheaper than his because it's less fabric.
Yeah. Yeah. I splurged for the full, full material here on the front. So you got
Gotcha. So do you have to have a beard and a black t-shirt to work at CloseSimple, or is that just,
David, they're our guests.
muckety mucks?
They're our
They're
guests.
our friends. We give them trouble.
I would say this. I'd say this. Our fashion is we've merged our fashion a lot together.
Yes.
Paul actually has a daughter. He's a dad. So when he got into CloseSimple, he had more dad style. And working with me, though, we've really this.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So did he throw away the white New Balances, or does he still have them?
No, we don't allow. No,
Okay.
It's straight black tees. We got to look techie and cool.
I've upgraded to Vans, so either I look like less of a dad or more like a 13-year-old.
Can I just
When I think Minneapolis, I think fashion.
Thank you.
Like 3 hurled insults. Has anyone ever
go on that floats and get made fun of? It's standard issue. Everybody knows that. Come on.
That's what I'm saying. I'm like, man, we bring these guys on as our guests. We've been to numerous conferences and conventions with them. They've got an interesting thing we'll get to, but let's start by insulting their clothing.
No. We love them. The meet and greet. Hey, they had the biggest meet and greet at the NS3.
Yes, and whoever edits this is going to put some pictures of those meet and greet folks on.
Can I just say though, we are nowhere near as cool as you all because we're not sponsored by anybody. Didn't you get sponsored by
Loafers?
Yeah,
the floating loafer.
Yeah, and we will have an episode not too long from now with the guys from Flofers to discuss their shoes. But for now, we've got Bill and Paul. And we're talking about your software, CloseSimple. But and because this isn't a commercial for CloseSimple, which it will be, but I think you two guys are more interesting than just saying, "Tell me about your software. What does it do?" I think I'd like to start by letting our audience know that when I had a glass of wine with you all in Minneapolis at the Minnesota Land Title Association, I said, tell me about your first conference or something. And if I'm remembering correctly, did you guys spoon in a twin bed to save money on a hotel or what?
Fake news.
All right.
Amazing.
So give us before we get to CloseSimple, your first trip where you guys are going. I mean, your title conferences aren't cheap. I mean, I don't know if you know this, but title owners like to stay in some really nice hotels and resorts. So you're brand new fledgling company. You're like, guys, here's how we're going to do this. So retell that story without the spoon part.
Yeah. Well, I mean, even taking it a little bit step further back, it's interesting. As we filmed this, yesterday was the 5-year anniversary of the last day of my job and my last gig. And I was in advertising. I know, 5 years, where's the confetti?
Congrats.
Wait, you left a lucrative advertising gig to create some software with that guy?
Yeah.
Or a niche market like title insurance, where there's dozens of customers. Okay.
Yeah. What do you say about title, Bill?
And title's like the mafia. It's when you get in, you never get out.
Yeah. No.
Yeah,
and it doesn't find you, or what do you say?
You don't find title finds you. And that's really, that's it.
We talked about the t-shirts, but Bill was he ran an online, very successful.
Well, the t-shirt. Yeah.
I had a t-shirt. I went from t-shirts to title. Paul went from advertising to title.
That is a natural progression.
Yeah.
Natural.
So imagine yourself 5 years ago, my last day, and then 4 days from now would have been Alta in Scottsdale, the first Alta one, and it was Wednesday morning. And this is exactly what you're referring to, Craig. And since we had a few wines, we'll clear the air on some of the spooning stuff. But so I wake up at 4 a.m., which is 6 a.m. Minnesota time or whatever, and I'm just chuckling to myself because we had gone to the Mixer, the Tuesday night happy hour that Alta puts on, and we could do a mini Alta plug here. I don't know when this is going to launch, but we do the thing, and Bill and I walk in, and even 5 years ago, at Alta.
We looked cool. Like we
looked a little different. Like most people were dressed like Craig with slacks right now, basically. Like if Craig wouldn't have had a tie on at an Alta event in 2016, just like that.
Is there a worse word than slacks? Slacks is an awful word.
Slacks is a grandpa word.
Well, I mean, like we walked in going, wow, a lot of like jackets and slacks going on.
Polos and
ties. We were walking kind of like this with jackets and like, which kind of felt like the room just like
the cool new kids walk in with a bunch of old title guys.
Yep.
That's what you're setting.
Not at all. Not at all.
Dusty.
You guys walked in that looked totally out of place, I think is actually what it was more like that.
Two hip youngsters. Yeah.
So Wednesday morning, I wake up just chuckling to myself at 4 a.m. going like, who quits their job again 4 days earlier and finds out they have the worst idea in the world?
Nobody wanted to talk to us that night. Like we're walking around like, hi, have you heard of CloseSimple? Nobody cared. They're like, here's the bar.
So you were selling title insurance for a pizza tracker, right?
Something like that.
So you had this concept and you were like, this is going to be rock. This is going to be like earth shattering. Stuff. Just wait. The first person that hears from this is going to be impressed. So wait, that Tuesday night at the Mixer, no one wanted to talk to you?
Basically, like Bill and I we're like on the plane across the aisle, like just going like, here we're gonna do this and this and this and this, and we're gonna take over this thing, and like, but we're from Minnesota.
We're gonna own this jet on the way home.
Yes, we're gonna own this jet. It's gonna take one day. But we're from Minnesota, and anybody who knows title knows that title in Minnesota is like, split closings, and we don't talk about escrow, and like throughout these conversations on Tuesday night, like we had never even heard the word escrow. Like think about that, and then think about like the industry you're in. Like, because in Minnesota, it's all title and title and title and title and title, and again, split closings and two companies representing every time. And it's unlike most of the rest of the title universe.
Nobody wanted, like, we had our business cards probably or something. We thought we were the hot thing, like, oh. No, just
we even have a website.
Yeah, we had a website.
I can't.
All right, so let me set the stage here. So you're on the plane, you're jacked up, you're Wolf of St. Cloud, you're Wolf of Minnewanka, and you're like, we're gonna rock. This is gonna be awesome. You walk into the icebreaker, you get rejections. Maybe someone hears you out. You tell them the story. They're like, that sounds dumb. You wake up Wednesday morning, 4 days after you quit your lucrative job, and then what do you realize the next morning? Like, what have we done? Should we just go home now, or is there some aha moment that?
Well, and remember, like the conference is at the Scottsdale Princess, and Bill and I are at the Best Western by the airport
with our rental car. With our rental car,
because we're like $500 for a hotel room. Like back then, we're like, that's we had like 3 clients in Minneapolis, and we're like, we can't spend our entire like 3 months of revenue on this one thing. So so I'm 6 feet from Bill because we're sharing a room, and I'm like, okay. 15 minutes later, I'm like, I needed a break. Advertising was killing me and my family, and I'm like, if it just ends up being 90 days off, everything's fine. Like everything's gonna be cool. But that said, we learned a lot last night. So I got up and I went to the 415, went to the Best Western Business Center, which if you can remember, I don't know if y'all remember like the internet back when you used to click a link, and then like every time you click the link, like 10 pop-ups would flash. Like this is 2016, but that's what it was like. I'm like on a Windows 95 computer in the business center at the Best Western.
What were you
just
doing?
Like Googling everything. What's that?
This is before the sun rises. That next morning, you're already in the business center.
He's stressed out of his mind.
Well, I'm going like, what are we doing? Like, we don't know how to talk. We have no idea how. Title is totally different than what we expected.
And what are these integrations? Like, we don't know what integrations are.
Like, we do nothing basically.
Were you just like putting your resume up on Indeed or something, or?
Yeah. They moved Jeff Bezos out of the way at the business center at the Best Western and said, Jeff, I need the computer for a minute.
Yeah, please.
I mean, again, we're 5 years in now. Maybe I should have done the Indeed thing, but I mean, like, we're so I'm like Googling, like, I don't know anything about like real estate attorneys. What's a title? Like, and just to be honest, even in 2016, even now, like you can't find anything about this industry anywhere to actually learn about it. Like, resources are few and far between. There is no like, here's the explainer video on.
Just go to that flow. It should be good.
There you go. Well, there was no that flows. I mean, like, there was literally nothing, but I'm finding like some attorneys talking, and so I'm like, okay, after like an hour and a half, it's like 5:45, 6 o'clock, hour 45 minutes later, I go back to the room and I'm like, Bill, I rewrote the pitch. This is what we say. And then like, do you have a screenshot of our app? Because at the time our app was really very simple.
It was just like we came up with the pizza tracker idea. You know, it was simple. It was simple. You know,
we had totally overcomplicated. Like in taking over the plane and buying the plane, and like we had taken our product about 30 steps forward when we barely. Oh, geez, we're way too close to Halloween for that.
The cat just kind of goes wherever she wants.
There's a cat in this video if you're watching the podcast right now.
Oh my gosh.
David's shoulder.
That's Poppy. We got her in January.
Okay, so anyway, like I go back to the room. I'm like, this is what we do. We got a screenshot of our app. You click a button at 4 steps and an email goes out. We weren't even doing texting at that point. I'm like, put that on your iPad, Bill. I'm going for a run. I went for a run. We came back. We drove from the Best Western to the Fairmont Scottsdale Princess. And the first thing I did was get lost with Ann Anastasi, like past Alta President. And I'm like making fun of us for being lost. And she's like, what do you do? And then I tell her, and I go, hey, Bill, you got that? Do you have that screenshot that we were talking about?
Yeah, I have that screenshot.
Oh, yeah. You know, Bill would pull it up and we'd be like, you click the button, the email goes out. And she was like, that's awesome. I got to introduce you to Brooks Yeager, who at the time was like leading RamQuest. Later that day, we talked to him. They ended up being like our first integration partner. But we had just like, we learned a very valuable lesson that day. And that was, you don't know anything. Like, you don't know anything. Like, this is going to take a little while to figure out. And like, what we did after, I think, relates back to that. And the second thing we learned was just keep it simple, like just simple, simple, simple. And that's really what we've been trying to do.
That's great.
But so that was a great break. But then like, no joke, we'd walk up, I'd go into like a group of people. Yeah, like yucks. And then someone would finally turn to me and be like, so what do you do? And I'd be like, oh, hey, Bill, you got that screenshot? Like,
I do, yeah.
Your thing? And like, so we did this bit like over and over.
So you were like Vanna and he was Pat. You know,
they don't know what that is. Doodling on the iPad and whatever.
Kids don't know.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, to say that Bill was just doing the iPad thing is maybe a little off. But like, so that's how we got some conversations going. And then we realized, oh, all these integrations. And like, it would take us a couple of years to get on Resware, a couple of years to get on SoftPro. But that first year, we literally couldn't sell because we had no integrations, and it didn't matter if somebody liked what we did because they couldn't use it. So we literally just for that next year took every coffee we could, made up stuff in conversations, tested theories, tried to figure out what the heck is this title and escrow.
Wow, we had customers on it that were closing, and like we had a lot of deals going through CloseSimple while we're learning you know, like
how to do it everywhere.
Yeah, so it's pretty crazy.
You're building the car while driving down the road.
Literally, yeah.
Exactly. But gosh, we had endless conversations. And that was really kind of like when we really started to understand, like, okay, we're going to be in this thing. You can't just fake it. That's
so stupid tax.
We bought jackets like Craig, and we started going to title conferences looking sharp, you know.
But so you said that you learned a couple things, you made a couple changes, but essentially from what I understand in your software is, like you've mentioned a couple times, it's like the pizza tracker. So what we know in title and closing world is that the communication to the buyer, seller, lawyer, realtor, the participants depends on us picking up the phone or starting an email or saying, here's where we are. And if we don't physically do that at each hurdle that we cross, those folks are in the dark. And sometimes we're too busy to contact them and to keep them. And that's the number one thing I bet consumers would say is like, well, we knew we had to show up on the 30th at 2:00, but the whole process prior to that, we were just like, I hope everyone's ready. I think everyone's working on our file. So what you guys said is, let's fix that. And instead of relying on the closer or the title folks to send out updates to all the parties, let's just automate that. And as they complete certain tasks in the software, you guys take over email, text, whatever, and you communicate like a standard type message based on.
It's always custom to the title company, whatever they want it to say. But at those certain milestones, it makes them look amazing.
So those closers can then say, this is great because it makes it look like I'm over like the greatest communicator ever. But, you know, Bill and Paul have created this thing that fires it off. Customers love it. I didn't really do anything except my normal job. Is that the pitch?
Yeah. I mean, that's the idea. Yeah. I mean, like, again, we had our first product to market 2014. And we started taking this thing national in 2018, again, with RamQuest and Razware and SoftPro. And like what we've learned is like what matters and like what should be custom to a title and escrow or real estate attorney, like what should be custom, and then what's just blocking and tackling that'll help you win. And like you said, like we try to set it up so that the workflow doesn't actually change at all. Like there's no additional work. It's just now you start to get credit in real time for what you're actually doing, and the results, it's twofold. And like, not to get too pitchy on it, but like people look at CloseSimple and they go, that differentiates me from the title company down the street, from the attorney down the street. So that's a big one. But right now, what really matters is we have customers who tell us like we have one client. I love this. This is my favorite story.
I love this.
You should just tell it.
Well, I'm on the phone with one of our clients and I'm just like, hey, talk to me about how CloseSimple's working for you. And her title company, they're crushing it. They do good volume. She goes, hey, Bill, I got this realtor that called me and said they closed with us and another title company. You know, it happens a lot in this industry. And she goes, but this realtor told me that because of the emails and the texts we're sending, you know, these updates, they're asking us 75% fewer questions.
Yep.
As a result. And I go, that's amazing. You know, and I'm like, that's awesome. And then, you know, she's like, I know. And I'm like, question though, like, we got to get you to get 100% of their files now. Like, why are they even closing with the other one? And that became the conversation then. But if you can communicate better, proactively, reduce the amount of anxiety from that real estate agent, buyer, seller, whoever's, you know, going through the closing, we believe your business is going to go to the next level.
And we're not saying that communicating, like you're not saying that closer doesn't want to talk to the customer. I don't want to talk to the customer. It's important to do that, but you want to concentrate on physically communicating to the customer on important times.
What matters.
Yeah. Well, it's working more efficiently. They don't say, well, where is title? Do I have my survey? You know, where are we at? Do we need to schedule closing? Those questions are already answered.
And I have to chuckle though.
Right here.
I like it brings up another. So again, Bill and I are like, we know everything. We don't. We realize quickly we don't. So one of the things I did was shadow one of our processors that we work with, escrow processor. And I sat with her for a day and just watched her work. And like half the time she was like putting her out of office on just to like run to the printer to grab checks because she gets so many emails. And if she doesn't get back to people.
Putting her out of office on to go to the printer?
Yeah, like It was wild. And it was funny because when we first got into the industry, I'm like, Bill, we're going to eliminate email in this thing, you know? And it's like, no, that's not going to happen, you know? So, but what we learned is we can eliminate some email, and people ask us like, is this just makes it, I'm not going to have a relationship with my client anymore. And we just go like, no, they're still going to bug you. Like
it magnifies your relationship. It makes it better.
Yeah, exactly.
It's stickiness. Yeah.
You still are going to have those back and forths. Trust me, you will have a relationship with them.
Funny one here. We were doing a live webinar actually, and one of our clients was on it. And I said, you're going to get fewer emails because of these. You know, I made that claim. And this woman emailed me after. She's like, we actually get more emails. And I'm like, what do you mean? And she's like, well, now our emails from, you know, everybody, clients are thank you. Like we didn't get that before, but now we're getting thank you emails from realtors saying thanks for the update.
Yeah, and I'm like, sort of personalized. So does the customer, does the end realtor or whatever, is the trick that the end realtor, the end customers don't really know that Sally's not firing those out, but is appreciative of the communication and the information in it. But Sally's not really punching all those out, but the customer thinks she is and thinks, wow, this person's amazing, but you've handled you've offloaded some of that from her plate. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And I mean, a lot of our customers have a production group sending like the first thing, and that person's been getting all these responses for the last however many years. And now that goes to Sally instead, even though the production person's like pushing it out, if that makes sense. So it's actually enhancing that again, versus even though it's a fake email from Sally's getting the response, and it's like, it's driving the process forward for people too.
What was the genesis of this? I mean, Bill, were you just walking down the street one day and said, hey, title insurance needs a new product? Like, how'd you come up with this? And necessity is the mother of invention, but
the elevator pitch idea is Paul had this idea. We have a third co-founder with us, and Paul and our third co-founder had this idea. And I had another business going at the same time, and they kind of were both busy in their careers and said, hey, could you help us get it off the ground? And our first idea was more in real estate. Okay. Nobody thinks about innovating in title. It's just kind of that leg of the transaction that's easily looked over by innovation. We didn't really even understand what title was, but
most people don't know. Back then we had literally no idea that this was a thing.
Yeah. So they bring me in, and instead of just launching this product, I post on Facebook, in the next 20 days, I want to meet with 20 real estate agents, buy them a cup of coffee, get their feedback on an idea. Found out over the next 3 months, nobody liked the idea we had, but every realtor I met with was yelling about this buyer, seller, whoever doesn't understand the process. So I went back to Paul and our third partner, Jeff, and I go, guys, what if we just made a tool to help realtors communicate with buyers, sellers, whatever? And we worked our way all the way up to the MLS here in Minnesota. We're about to launch a 13,000 person deal.
Wow.
They came under litigation, but one of the guys on the board owned the #1 Remax in the world, goes, I want that timeline tool. So we're like, okay, cool. Launched with him 2013, 2014 pulls us aside, and Paul and I are in his office. And I mean, we're watching the usage, like Paul can look at the data. Nobody's using this thing at his brokerage. Like, I mean, we made the coolest app. Like, this thing was sick. It was awesome, but he goes, guys.
We all know in this industry, like, who are we asking to use that app? Yeah. And sometimes it's hard to get those people to do stuff.
So he goes, nobody's using this thing. You know that, I know that. But he goes, you know what? Forget them. I own a title company, and the #1 complaint from my realtors against title is bad communication. Can we take this timeline thing and put into title? We go, I bet we could, but what's title? And that,
yeah, okay.
That was it.
That's the answer there, Dave. That's exactly what I was wondering too. So I was still thinking, listening to you for the last 60, 90 seconds, like, all right, where is he getting the title? Yeah. Now it makes sense. So you had a real estate, everybody wants to make money in real estate. You had an idea. It didn't quite work. They steered you to title. This guy with the Remax owns title.
And what was the first thing he wanted? The only thing that he really cared about?
I just want my realtors to know we're working on it.
Just file opened. Just let them know we got it.
Just let them know we're on it. Okay.
Exactly. So now it's I mean, we don't need to know the ins and outs. People, we've teased them enough about what you do, but so you basically set up a series of communications at different times throughout the transaction, and it just communicates for you. So if you're, I guess people watching this, if you're terrible at communicating, might be a solution. If you're good at communicating, but it takes up a lot of your time, maybe automate it. So you've got a pitch for anyone in the industry, essentially, it sounds like. And you mentioned that you were doing emails at first, and now it's more of a texting thing. Is that
no, emails and texts? I mean, like we help our customers like curate a set of milestones that, like, everyone goes like, I'm going to have realtors who tell me to turn this thing off. Like, stop sending me all these emails. And we're like, well, you have to let them know they got it, and that the commitment's there, and that you've scheduled, and maybe a fourth if you need it. And then thank you, we're funded. And like, so they're off your back. So it's like, we go send an email and a text, and you can deliver documents if you want securely. And there's just like, each one of those steps provides an opportunity to, again, move the relationship in the business.
What's next? Sending a TikTok or a Snap?
You could, David, if you want, like one of your TikTok. I don't know your moves, but
yes,
we don't recommend TikTok videos in it.
I'm trying not to ask specific questions on your software, just because I don't want to.
That's okay.
No, but does the user get to pick like those events? Like if you say
it's customizable, okay.
These 4 events that fire off messages. What if they say, I don't like those 4 events, I like these 4 events?
We just talked to a South Carolina title company, and they do is work with their attorney. So it's a totally different experience because it's a different recipient, but it's automated out of SoftPro, and it's the same.
How important was it when you started integrating with the SoftPro service provider or the title production systems? Was that a pretty big event for you because now you're in their software?
Well, we basically understand, or quickly understand. We didn't know this. We didn't know this in Scottsdale.
Like there's a lot you guys didn't know when you got into business.
Yeah.
Well, if we didn't get the integration, we wouldn't be in the industry, because nobody that's busy closing, like
you cannot use CloseSimple unless it's integrated, because we just don't expect anyone to like, and now
they don't want to leave their environment.
Over here. Like it's not going to happen.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Let me ask you before we go any further, is this kind of how you thought this podcast would go?
No. I thought you were going to ask us to like describe how to handle like someone dying over the weekend or something. Like, what happens if someone dies over the weekend and you didn't?
Oh yeah. So for
this, obviously somebody watched our NS3.
Oh wait, that's a previous episode, and you should absolutely check out.
We haven't posted that. That was our live show we did at NS3.
Lawyers we're still working on details with their lawyers of whether
I have to edit that up and get that posted so that joke you just made will make sense. But yes, David and I did do a things that go wrong if you start a closing, something doesn't happen right, and you say, let's come back tomorrow and finish that. We came up with a list of 15 real things that have happened that will blow your mind the next morning when you walk in. And yes, correct. One of them is the guy didn't come back because he died last night. And
is there an event in CloseSimple the buyer is still alive, or the buyer is now dead, or the buyer is in jail?
We haven't had that request, but 100% could like send an email saying, click yes if you're alive. I mean, we can do that. So
yeah.
All right. Well, cool. So now it's you two. Do you have other staff that's kind of you've brought on now, or have you grown? You've got more than just a couple customers, and how's the reception different now when people see you at events versus you getting thrown out of the Princess? And are you able to stay in the big boy hotels now, or are you still down at the Best Westerns?
That's a lot of questions. So yeah, we've got it.
Whichever you want.
I'm gonna ask you a 17-part question.
Yeah, no, we're based out of Minneapolis. We've got 7 on our team besides us today and growing.
Awesome.
We're helping communicate closings in all 50 states every single day, I think, is a thing that we could say. Tens of thousands of emails and texts going out every day. So that's good. I mean, the reception's interesting. We're 5 years old. This will be our 6th Alta One. Last year barely counts in the pandemic, but our 6th Alta One coming up here. And it is definitely different. We still run into a lot of people who have never heard of us. And we go, we've got this thing. It makes you look good in the process and communicates. And they go, I want that. I haven't heard of it before. But then we also have friends, and we have people like you all that we see and have a good time with. And I think that's probably been one of the most unexpected things is like, even though we're like the vendors selling stuff at these things, like the relationships and the welcoming and everything that we've experienced, that's probably been the most surprising thing. Like Bill and I, we're not doing vendor stuff at conferences, so we don't have a lot to base it on, but we've been really impressed with the humans.
Well, like you talked, it's like the mafia. Once you're in, you're in. And you become part of the family, and everybody kind of treats you like that. So
yeah, that's the second part of what you say.
Yeah, I always say like the title industry, it's either like the Olive Garden or like the mafia, because the Olive Garden, when you're here, your family, pass the breadsticks, that kind of thing. But like the mafia, because it's cutthroat. Yeah. It's when you leave. Go to the wherever it's I'm cutting you, we're
sleeping with the fishes. Exactly.
Yeah. And when I say that, and John Mano, in Vaso with ORT in Ohio, Italian guys, they love
their names in vowels. So
yeah, they're
gotta watch yourself.
They love that. I think Mano's actually using that now.
And just for the record, I made no comment except those two gentlemen have made comments on the mafia. David said he agreed with them. I have not said anything about the mafia.
Well, once you're in, you can't get out. Is the other side?
I'm just watching.
Whether CloseSimple goes on and becomes this amazing thing or not, we're probably going to be around. So
okay, let's go there. And again, you don't have to. Here's the thing I know about being interviewed: if you don't like the question, just answer a different question. So I'm going to say, you guys are super young. What are we thinking long term? I mean, are you going to be developing CloseSimple forever? Is there different add-ons? Is it going to translate to different industries? You're going to get a big day and we're not going to see you anymore. I mean,
is it CloseSimpler?
Answer whatever.
Or, what's next?
And what about, what if someone duplicates what you're doing? And
that's a fair question. We actually get that one all the time. I think I'll thread the needle on this one, or attempt to, Craig. So, Bill and I, when we got into this thing, it was always like we were looking forward. And then we stopped doing that. And we started saying, let's just make sure we are excellent today. And that we at least have a good line of sight to what we're doing over the next 3 months. So we, like anybody, hopefully, we've got title and escrow and company owners and real estate attorneys and that kind of thing watching this, like you kind of have like a dream for where you want to see your thing go. But if you don't execute today, there's not a high likelihood that you're going to be able to get to that. So when we look at it, we kind of go, it's hard to believe how far we've come. But like right now we're like, what do we got to get done before December 31st to make sure we keep this thing going in the right direction? And I think that's probably like the most important thing for us. But what CloseSimple will always be is a product that the everyday title and escrow company can use to continue to stay or get ahead in this space. And it's always going to have a digital tilt to it. It's going to be either helping elevate the closing experience, or it's going to be helping them, do more. Like we like to say, like we want to create products for title and escrow companies, real estate attorneys, to save time and make money. And that's basically our guiding principles to everything that we're doing.
Is there an underwriting component? They talk about closing agents and being in the closing table. And I know you're not an underwriter that has direct offices, but is there an application for, back office underwriting stuff that could happen, communication tools or something like that? Or is this purely for those of us that are in the front lines at the closing table? Why am I interviewing Dave? Dave, answer the question.
Yeah. Oh, well, Bill and I have had conversations about ways to expand the product and things like that. But no, this can definitely be a B2B solution as well, because, we've got a company, Center Agency Solutions, that title agents order production from us. And this is something we could overlay with that to say, okay, your order's in, here it's in process, here's your commitment. Boom, it's done. So yeah, I think there's a lot of B2B applications for it as well too. And it's just kind of, tweaking it to go from there. Because everybody we deal with is a customer, no matter what we do. My own internal employees are my own customers. I need to be serving them. They're, and back and forth. So what they, what I love about what you guys have built is it's kind of business agnostic at this point. It's how are we flowing, the workflow and showing it's showing your work in elementary school math. Okay, here's where we're at in the process, because people need to know where it is so they can plan things out and anticipate, and then they can swim lane something that's going faster this way and say, okay, I can hold off on that one for now. So I think there's a lot of it's something, a lot of opportunities.
It's something you just mentioned. It reminded me there's a part in our industry that every single person in our industry knows, that we could all be doing a better job at telling everyone what part of this weird process what part of the process are we in. Yes. Not a lot of people really understand title. Not a lot of people really understand closing. They know it's necessary. They want to know, like, are we on track? And we all on our end say, yeah, we could be doing a better job doing that, but we're really too busy. So I'm wondering, I wonder if there's any other parts of our industry that are like that we all admit is broken. We all think there's a solution, but we're not there yet. So it seems like these guys have figured out some of it, but.
Well, can I say this? It's like everybody, we've just focused on this one thing. Like if we can just help title companies communicate better, like texts, emails, pizza tracker timeline. We're not going to make it sound, fancier than that. It's really fun, because I think people are starting to go like, here's an application here. We're just focused on this one area, and there's a lot smarter people out there that go, hey, what about mortgage? What about this? And we're like, yeah, that's cool. We're right here. And it's really cool to see our product starting to evolve as, we just keep doing what we're doing. I always like to say when we got in it, it's like, let's just make a dent in this industry. Like, let's just be here. Like, if we chase that rabbit, and now we're starting to get those better out. It's like what you're saying, David, where it's like, now we can start taking some of those things and going, it's easier to get in there.
The mortgage industry is fascinating. You just mentioned that. And I also think the realtor industry, you started on the kind of a transactional management piece before you jumped into title, but I just refinanced my home loan. And I remember when I talked to my lender, he said, well, this is what you're going to be locked in at. We're going to try to get you closed within the next 30 days. And I said, or 30, 45 days. So 10 days go by and is anyone doing anything on my file? And then 2 more days and a couple more weeks. And I'm like,
and you're in the industry. So
I'm in the industry. And I'm like, he's like, relax. And I said, but can you at least fire an email to me every few days? Just lie to me and tell me that somebody's working on my file just to make me feel better. And in the real estate world, I haven't sold a house in 8 years or so, but that world is fascinating too. Like buyer and seller, like what's happening? There's so many parts moving behind the scenes, inspections, appraisals, repair, maintenance, contracts, lender locks. That, I mean, I think your product, like David said, what was it? Industry agnostic is probably a great way to put it. Track anything really. So
yeah.
So again, I don't want to get into the weeds and have this too big of a sales thing for you guys, but I'll give you one chance to like give us a differentiation between you guys and maybe what other people might, not necessarily competitors, but like what you guys do versus what I might be doing differently or what someone else might be doing differently. And then we'll get back to making fun of you for something.
I was going to make a joke earlier about our third co-founder couldn't be here because he doesn't have a black t-shirt, but
yeah, he doesn't own a black t-shirt.
We'll leave that one. It's a good question. There are certainly built-in aspects to what we do in the different systems that we integrate with. Resware, RamQuest software, they have an ability to email, and there's other sort of like text add-ons and things like that. What we've tried to do is just make it a very simple package. Like when we talk about what's simple and CloseSimple, it's a simple experience for the end customer. They don't have to log into anything ever, like if they don't want to. And we actually had a portal as part of our first thing for realtors, and literally no buyers and sellers logged into it for a year.
I don't know if anybody logged into it.
I don't know if anybody logged into it. And like, it's just that whole, like, does anybody want another username and password, especially for a 45-day process? Like, do we really want that?
Yeah, because this is very temporary for them. I mean,
yeah, and
basically they're just jumping out of your product.
Yeah, and we'll see. I mean, like, I think there's a better way to do it than what's been done, but that's the first thing, is like, you don't have to log in. The second thing is it's got to be simple for the internal staff. So it's got to be automated. It's got to be like less work than when they started. Because if somebody looks at, like, you're gonna make me do these 5 other things, like, good luck. It's really, really hard.
Yeah.
If you can get them to do those 5 things, for our thing is like, get them to do it for 3 weeks and they'll start to feel the difference. So like, if you do have a manual type, I want to have control over what I send, you can do that. But it's that, and then it's got to be simple to implement. So like, we just painstakingly try to improve our implementation process, implementation after implementation after implementation. And now that we've done a lot of these, like, we can really do that well. So those are the 3 simple things. And then, like Bill always talks about, it's going to make you look good. It's your brand on display, up to 5 times. All the emails have your branding, your marketing, the message you want to be sending. And nobody else does that, paired with the text message, which is really going to cut through that realtor's phone number. What we always say is, you will never get another email that's like, where's that commitment? And you're going like, oh, I sent it to you 3 days ago. Like, now they have a text that lets them know check your email. Literally, our title commitment text says, check your email. The commitment's attached.
Okay. So will you guys will be attending Alta in New Orleans?
We will be there.
Do you have a booth, or?
We got a big booth because we support Alta.
Yes.
Nice.
Yeah, and then we'll also be at whatever the tie pack thing is. We will 100% be there and
excellent.
It's your bowling shoulder ready.
Exactly. So, okay, what is your favorite tchotchke giveaway that you've ever seen at Alta?
I know mine off the top. I forget who it was, but a pair of socks. Somebody was giving away socks, and I thought it was it the National
Quality is giving away socks.
Realtors.
I think the Realtor Association.
Realtor.com.
Realtor.com.
There was a string there where there were a lot of socks being given out.
We've never fallen into the like tchotchke like swag giveaway. Like,
yeah, if you come to our booth, there's likely not going to be much in terms of like pens and coffee mugs and stuff like that.
But I mean, they don't even need to come to your booth right now. If they're watching and they're not going all to one, you just taught everyone, whether I let you go too sales pitchy or not, you've just taught everyone that we stink at communicating. Well, let me rephrase it. We could always communicate better. There's options out there. You can either do it yourself better. There might be options by you. There might be some other competition out there. There might be better solutions, but communicating to the end customer is something that you think your company is solving. We're all admitting that we're bad at it or could be better at it. So this podcast alone hopefully helps bridge that gap, whether people call you or not. If so, I wear a size medium deep V-neck. No, I'm totally kidding. And then I think that's it. This is the first week in October, so I'll have this sucker edited. You're gonna edit this. Let me get this up on the inner tubes here in a little while.
Chop.
And then we'll see how it goes. Maybe people will download and laugh at our video here.
That would
This
be
is
good.
this is gonna be fun all the time. I'm looking forward to seeing everybody.
Yeah, it's gonna be a really good time. No, thank you. I mean, like, obviously that was not the expectation. And like whatever we gotta, like, I don't know if there's like if you need to boost your post, like we can
just share it. Just share it amongst the CloseSimple.
Oh yeah.
friends.
Oh, it'll be shared.
Yeah.
We're doing our newsletter.
Yeah, it'll be so we do a monthly newsletter thing, but also like we send out emails. You get them.
Yeah, send links out to this. Yeah.
I think this is like, we're 30 something episodes in or whatever. I think it's hilarious because we never tell anyone when they're coming on what we're talking about.
Our 2-year anniversary was this week. I texted Craig. I'm like, hey, 2 years ago we did our first movie.
Right.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
You guys got no warning. Like, here's what we're going to talk about. No one does. We just come on and just whip here. It's like
amazing. So, no, but for real, we'll blast. Like, we'll see what we can do. We only have like 4,000 or 5,000 people in our email database, so
we'll get like tens of views.
6,800.
6,800. We'll get it in front of.
If everybody will just view it twice, we'll make like 75 cents on YouTube.
Wait, you can make money on YouTube?
So, hey, bring your appetites on Thursday of Alta. We're having a Lucky Dogs cart at our stand for lunch.
Nice.
No, you're not.
Yes, no, we are having a Lucky Dog cart in the marketplace at Alta 1 from 11 to 3 on Thursday.
Well, I mean,
we've got the giant booth in the very center of Alta. Like, we are the big
just
booth.
To refresh your memory.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
My New Orleans trips go so much better when after 1 or 2 in the morning, I stop for a Lucky Dog with everything on it, because I think, and I'm no doctor, so my theory is that you've got some interesting fluids in your body and you might be a little dizzy.
Your humors are out of whack.
Everything's out of whack. You throw a good old foot-long Lucky Dog, your body is so confused as to what to attack that you wake up feeling great.
Yep.
My theory.
It's like mother's milk.
Way to bring it home, Dave.
Can you just read